Hello! Welcome to another devlog, this time where we go over the process of implementing a ping feature in Puzzle Compound, an online multiplayer co-op puzzle solving game that we've been working on. Before we get started, we're hoping to get 1,000 wishlists by the time we release the game in spring 2023, so we'd really appreciate it if you took the time to head to Steam and give it a wishlist if it seems like you'd enjoy it. Now, onto the video. Something many multiplayer games have is a way to point out particular locations to other players, and we wanted to implement a similar feature in Puzzle Compound. We figured this would help facilitate communication by offering a way to point out something outside of relying on voice chat. With that in mind, I started to get to work. The first part is the easiest part. Similar to how we figure out what object the player is interacting with, this just does what's called a line trace in front of the player to see what they're looking at. The only difference here is that it goes much further than checking for interactions. If we hit something, we'll want to put a marker, otherwise we'll just ignore it. Already in testing, I can see something I'll need to think about though, players spamming locations. Before focusing on that though, the next step is actually getting something viewable for all players. At first I replicated the system we use for player names, which is a widget component inside of a blueprint that is in the screen space. This allows you to see it clearly no matter how far you are from it. I waffled a bit on the next part on how I wanted to do it. I wasn't sure if I wanted a replicated object spawned by the server, or if each player should have their own instances of the ping blueprints. I ended up going with the latter because I felt it would be a bit more flexible, as it wouldn't necessarily rely on having blueprints, which ended up being a good thing. That's because after some testing, I noticed one issue with using the widget blueprint component is that when a player is looking away, the ping indicator disappears. So I decided to tackle both this and the issue with players trying to add a bunch of pings. I first changed it so that each ping is associated with a player and each player can only have a single ping active. I then borrowed some C++ code from some posts on the UE forums that would take a world position and spits out a location on screen to put a widget on the main UI. You can check out the description for a link to the post. It's not perfect, but it works pretty well for our purposes. And here you can see with my changes, each player can only have a single ping. Whoops. It turns out that if you want pings to be associated with a single player, you need to actually specify the player. Who knew? With all of that out of the way, it was on to just polish. I added sound effects and a little animation to brand new pings, as well as limited the frequency in which players can send pings. We also have a minimap system, so I added the pings to it as well. And that's all for the ping system. Let us know what you think, and be sure to like the video as well as subscribe and hit the bell icon to see more of our videos in the future. Thanks for watching and have a good day.